You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
All right. Welcome back. We have Penny Kelly with us, and Aingeal Rose and myself were engaged in conversation about all kinds of wonderful things. And Penny, in an earlier episode, part of this series actually talked about 12 different, what did you call them, Penny? Signs.
They are signs of the pole shift.
Pole shift. And 10 years later, perhaps a micronova. And if you haven't listened to the earlier one, we suggest you go back and watch and listen to that. But for this section, we want to talk about AI. And now let's just set the stage first, because we're finding that there's a kind of a split happening here too, in terms of there are people who are gung-ho into AI and thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread. And then there's the other school of thought that are saying, oh, there's danger here, And the likes of Greg Braden, indeed, talks about, be careful, it doesn't take from our divinity, and you don't want to implant this stuff in your brain and so on. And I'd love to get your take, Penny, on where you think this is coming from and where you think it's going.
Point blank, I think it's coming from our relationship with ETs, and that people who are dealing with ETs have understood that there's a way to set up intelligent systems. And because they don't understand consciousness and they don't understand intelligence, they call it artificial intelligence. They haven't done the homework. They don't have the background. They don't have the development themselves. And so we've got this first step into AI. I love AI, but it's not the kind of AI that they're putting out there right now.
Yes.
And so what we could ask the question, what's missing? What are those people in our government, in our tech businesses, who are maybe being fed some information and experimenting? What is it they need to understand?
Yeah.
And maybe some have or are beginning to understand. They need to understand that the nature of reality is frequencies. And they get that. There's electricity, there's currents. Current creates a field. Magnetic field. The magnetic field then kind of splits into, filaments, and then particles get produced by the currents, and the particles collect on the filaments, and they form various patterns. And so what is it? What's the missing piece? We haven't done the research into what happens when you put this frequency with that frequency, and they produce a third binaural frequency. What does that third frequency do?
Wow.
And how do you build a system that is based on understanding 29,000 generations of interaction between two frequencies?
Yes.
When you can map that frequency generation process, you can begin to enhance intelligence in a way that makes sense, that does no harm, and that maximizes not the intelligence of a computer chip,
right? Yeah.
The intelligence of the material in the computer chip, and the material in the tire, or in the steering wheel, or the intelligence of the metal in the car or the ship or the refrigerator or the whatever. So they don't have true artificial intelligence. Well, it is artificial.
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because we've had a few very interesting experiences these last few weeks around AI. And the first one was where there's a very good friend of ours in Sedona who is, he's very, very, very conscious, very aware character.
Okay.
and knows a lot about the Vedas and ancient scripture and very clued in. And he has started coming out with realizations, and I'm calling them realizations, that this is not artificial intelligence at all, just like you say. It's actually universal intelligence. In other words, it's already there. It's already everywhere. We're already tapped into it. But our way, our physical way of manifesting it is to have it as a silicon chip in a data center. But it's actually already there. And so what he's been doing is he's been mapping it to the Vedas and to Sumerian teachings and to various ways of realizing that this universal intelligence is available to everybody. You don't have to have a physical device in order to access it. Now, by contrast, let me tell you the other experience. We were over in San Diego last week, and we were at it wasn't a dinner party. What would you call it? Not a yard party. Outside somebody's house. They just had a
barbecue.
A barbecue. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Memorial Day.
Oh,
barbecue.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So we're there talking to this guy, and it turns out that he works for Qualcomm, which is, I understand to be, from him, the largest employer in San Diego. And they make silicon chips for cell phones. So his big spiel to me was, when I asked him about AI, he said that, oh yeah, we've got our board of directors and our owners are really gung-ho on making sure that our silicon chips are going to be in every cell phone, in everybody's pocket all over the world. Why? Because that's how we're going to access intelligence, right? And I'm saying to myself,
okay.
So that's what I wanted to ask you, and that's what you've just been saying effectively, is that this is not artificial. They're making it look artificial,
right?
As if it's generated externally,
right,
in a data center. But I think, like you say, that, I mean, the very first thing you said, let's be straight, AI is coming from ETs. I can see how that could be.
Yeah.
It made me remember I had a dream about seeing a ship last night.
Oh, tell us about that.
Flying saucer.
Oh, wow.
It was just in the sky, and I was looking up at it, and you said something like, I don't see it. And I'm like, it's right there. Can't you see it?
Oh,
yeah, I just remembered it when you said that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Very, very good. Yeah. Wow. So I'd like to get your take, Penny, if you don't mind, on where you feel it's going. Like, is it? Do you think the benefit will outweigh the disadvantages?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it needs a lot more iterations in order to come to a point where it's not destructive. So we live in an intelligent system. Everything, what holds this pen together? What holds you together, or me, or my water bottle? What holds that glass together? What holds anything together? It's intelligence. It's the intent to be a certain form. So if you have that intent to be a certain form, that's based on intelligence. So now you can write a program that makes a whole bunch of things happen through, 1.5 million computer chip gates. I don't know if people know about gates on a chip, but okay, you've got all these transistors and they have gates that let information pass or not. So you can write a program that says, here's what we want this information to do, or you can begin to communicate with the stuff and actualize the intelligence within the material to see what does that material offer us. And the more you play with that, the more conscious those materials become, and the more able they are to fill our need to work with intelligence. Why just write a program and not have the whole system supporting the intelligent process that you're trying to implement?
Right.
Yeah. The whole thing is available to us. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that we're going to get there as a three-dimensional world, because our planet does things that we clean things up regularly.
Yeah.
But we learn and grow and move up into higher dimensions that are not quite as physical, not quite as disastrously physical. And we can take our knowledge with us and begin to explore and experiment with materials and the material within the actual, or the intelligence within the actual material.
Well, that's one of the main reasons that I asked you, because I feel that this AI, let's now call it universal intelligence, that we're becoming more and more aware of, is actually, to me, the beginnings of our awareness of a higher frequency and another dimension. We're beginning to tap into it. Yeah.
Finally.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and AI is so helpful. It can, when you get, let me just use, this is another example I'll take from Consciousness and Energy 5. When you have a world, we live in a world. The planet is a planet. It's not a world. It's the people who make up the world, the things that make up the world that actually create that world. So every single critter, creature, form, element has a role in making a world be what it is. And so maybe we've seen videos where they say, oh, we released 10 beavers into the Northwest and they rebuilt this whole river system. Or we released 10,000 rabbits into the desert, or wild horses, or whatever they release. Every single one of those animals, and this is something that I learned personally on a farm, an animal builds its niche to suit its lifestyle and its needs in the same way that we do as humans. It does that using intelligence. And that intelligence, that is what makes the whole system. We have been foolishly removing animals, removing trees, changing the course of river. Nobody knows why a river is curly. It's because the water is supposed to move down the river in a spiral. And when it does so, it digs its own river course. It's too complicated to go into, but all of those are intelligent systems.
Mm-hmm.
And we are, I hope, moving toward being able to integrate into those intelligent systems and have them integrate into our intelligence, and we work together.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Yeah, I agree with that. Anything else, Aingeal Rose?
I was just thinking about our sparrows outside for some reason.
Oh gosh, yeah, we have two.
Yeah, we have two little sparrows who sit on our porch deck every day. And I told Ahonu, my feeling is that they're the spirits of the elderly couple that used to live in this house.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes they fly in. We have a wreath on our door. They fly in, sit on the wreath, and then fly back out.
Okay.
Until Ahonu says something, and then they leave,
Oh.
But
I know, once I move or say something, they'll fly out.
Yeah, but to hear them every morning, and when you thought of the animals, I just thought, those animals are sitting on our deck.
Birds and their bird song are what open and close the stomata on leaves and plants. So that's how plants feed themselves. And they are the major seeders along every fence line.
Yeah.
They sit on the fence, they poop the seeds out, and they're all fertilized, and then you get a whole row of trees within a few years.
Wow, that's cool.
And grasses. It's a system. It's a beautiful system.
That's universal intelligence in action.
It is. It is. I love it.
So based on what you said about the earth changes, would you definitely recommend that people do not move near a coast?
I would. Unless you're planning to leave.
Because my daughter's, of course she lives in San Diego and she'd love us to come out there, but
is she within 100 kilometers, 65 miles of the coast?
She's in Oceanside.
Oh, she's Oceanside, yeah. She's like,
Oh,
think she's
okay,
64
yeah.
no, she's 3 miles
Oh,
to the coast.
What
okay.
about Ojai, California? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Ojai, I think it would be okay. Ojai tends to be a little bit deserty,
Yeah.
but it's
In the
fairly
mountains,
safe.
right?
Yeah,
Surrounded by mountains.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know how high is high enough, but I know that Florida is not high enough.
Yeah, I know that too. Yeah.
Yeah, New York is not high enough.
And
So,
Oregon as well.
Let's ask you a quick question about that, Florida. One time, Aingeal Rose and I were flying into Florida, and Aingeal Rose was looking out the window. You tell that story. You were looking out the window of the plane as we were approaching.
We were in landing mode, and I looked down, and instead of seeing Tampa, I said, "Oh, there's Atlantis." It just appeared to me to be Atlantis. And
oh wow.
I know, so that was kind of a cool experience. But that's
Mm.
the only thing.
But what I was going to ask you was, if that is going underwater, which is in all likelihood a possibility, is that because other teachings would talk about Atlantis rising again?
Rising, yeah.
So I'm wondering about that.
I have actually seen that a lot of stuff gets destroyed in Florida, but that there's more land. They end up get pushed up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. New York goes down, Florida goes up. What?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Either way, it's all great excitement ahead for us.
I think it is. I think it is. And I think there's been such a huge drop in the population in a lot of places. And I see signs that, that some people that aren't very developed are going to have a turn. And people that are very awake and very aware, they're going to say, can we go elsewhere?
Yeah, right. We're leaving.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there is one other thing I wanted to ask you, Penny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I know.
I'm glad you chuckled, Penny.
Well,
I
This
wasn't
always
going to say
happens with
anything.
it always
Go
happens
ahead.
with us when we get talking,
with
I
you.
know.
Yeah. So, you know how in the past, and Aingeal Rose indeed has written a book about indigo, crystal, and rainbow children. And how it was a long time ago, yeah. But it was all the rage, and our understanding at the time was that as new children are coming in, they're coming in with greater gifts than what we were born with, right? And so with that backdrop now, we've been finding a very interesting development lately, and that is that older people are coming out with some amazing insights into what's going on. Unexpected, I have to say. Seriously, because knowing, like in my case, for example, having been born and reared in what I call Holy Catholic Ireland, you kind of get entrenched into a way of thinking and what you've been led to believe, right? And that's the case with most people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. There was a certain way of being led to believe and maneuvered into religious beliefs or whatever.
Right.
They're the very people who are breaking out of those boundaries we're finding.
I know.
Do you find that same thing?
I do. I do. I am astounded at the people that come to class or that join my little community or that, show up and make comments under some of my videos. It's like, oh, wow. And it's almost like they were waiting to come out of the closet until this time. And I think ever so often, in fact, I was just writing to somebody today and saying, or a couple of days ago, saying, the 60s were the kids who said, hey, there's something wrong with this system. And they got co-opted and fooled and cheated on and, pushed back into the box. Well, they're they're now in their 60s and 70s, and they're not fooled by one darn thing.
Yes.
And they are in full support of young people who are kind of the hippies of today.
Mhm.
And not the wild kind of hippie that, that they were. So I'm really happy to see that kind of age and wisdom
Yes.
and respect and honor and caution. Look, we can't be stupid about this, and they're not. And I love that.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
I think that they're going to be the ones who say no, thank you to a lot of the
Yes.
political stuff that is, as we see today, breaking down, going to end up, they're going to take each other out, just like the Robe said. All
Yeah.
those elites are going to have wars that take one another out.
Yeah.
My advice is stay out of the way.
Yeah. Very good. Good point on which to draw to a close. Penny,
Yeah.
that has been absolutely enlightening. Wonderful.
I hope it's helpful.
Always great to talk to you. And we feel that the audience who taps into your work and our work, I think it's an example of that fearlessness.
Right.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
I've been
And
through everything. You're not fooling me. Wasn't
Right.
born yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Wonderful.
getting dry behind the ears, as we used to say.
Okay, Penny, thank you again. We
Okay.
absolutely love you.
Thank you very
and
much. Thank you
love
so much for spending time with us.
Oh,
Yeah,
love
we
you
appreciate it
too.
so
I
much.
always enjoy talking with you guys. Oh my gosh. So
We were
take
just
care of
thinking of
yourself.
Santa Barbara yesterday. That's where we met, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that was a long time
That was a
ago.
long time ago when you were giving that talk.
I know.
That must be.
That was
Wow.
2010.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
That'd
Yeah.
be right.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. That's happened
Yeah.
since then, Penny.
A
A lot has happened indeed. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember at that time thinking that the world was so sweet, and so were you guys. And here we are, what,
Yeah.
16 years, 10, 20, 26, 16 years later. Yeah. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
hang in there, guys. Hang in there.
Yes. Hang in there. Hang in there.
Okay.
All right, Penny, you look
All
after
right.
yourself. Take care. We'll talk to you
Okay.
again soon.
Thank you.
Blessings. We
Thank you. Love you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was enlightening, wasn't it?
That was something else, wasn't it? Oh my God.
Always a great time with Penny.
Yeah, always. Oh my God. Absolutely wonderful. Well, do please share widely and join us also on the World of Empowerment. We have a community that's growing, and we would love to have you join us and participate. It's really about sharing and nurturing each other in this great time of change. And you'll find that on worldofempowerment.com.
That's right.
So, till next time, as Aingeal Rose says.
See you later.
Till next time.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.